Hey folks, Craig Danger, Vinyl Record Player. Oh, yep, I'm here. Got the Vinyl Tag 2024 from legendary luminary of the vinyl community. Of course, I'm speaking of only Robert Walker, everyone's favorite submarine repairman, and really lustrous locks is what this gentleman has. Put together another high quality top 20 Vinyl Tag questions for the year. I'm gonna do them right now. I had a little bit of a break. A lot of stuff going on in life. It's really funny when you're when things are changing at a clip, and you need to stop. It means you don't have time to shoot videos. None of that. Let's talk records. Go ahead and go through this list. It's a long one, but let's just start ahead and we'll go ahead and do it. And first question, of course, favorite record you purchased in 2023? Wow. Yeah, this has been another year. Let me just say, I started my channel in 2022. It was great. I had a collection that was a reasonable variety. I decided, you know what, I'm just really in a soul and funk sort of mode. I've been in different modes during my life in terms of collecting records, etc., etc. But I was definitely in a soul and funk mode over the past year. And wow, my collection just absolutely ballooned. So it was not easy. And you know what, I'm not even going to pick one. I'm going to say, nope, I want two. I'm going to take two. Sisters Love with Love. Early 70s, late 60s on the Mo West, the Motown label. I think one of the best girl groups of that time. This is sort of a compilation that I picked up. A really good record. There are some just bangers on this record. It is just a funky record. Probably my favorite track on it is Gimme Your Love, a cover of the Curtis Mayfield song. Wow. Okay, you got to hear that song. With all the love and due respect to the legendary Curtis Mayfield, this record's version is outstanding. It's incredible. And there's another song in this called You Got My Mind. Basically, the lyrics go, you got my mind, so here is my body. And I'm like, okay. All right, Sisters Love. Anyway, super underrated group. Didn't sell a lick, unfortunately. Again, I think Motown really relied on a lot of really heavy hitters in the 70s, and a lot of this kind of lower rung artists, just if they didn't get really lucky, they tended to just get shuffled. And unfortunately, Sisters Love, wow, just great stuff. Really funky stuff. Number two, I know, and you're thinking, oh, Craig, this is supposed to be your best. Well, this is also my best. You want to talk about a record that changes minds, changes vibes. Ooh, I'm talking about Lou Rawls' Soulin' from '66. The thing about this particular record is Axelrod. David Axelrod, producer. This is just a swinging, upbeat. It's not a soul record as you might think. It's very Lou Rawls record. This is a little bit of an aside. Before this year, I did not like Lou Rawls. I was like, ooh, not a fan, Lou. Didn't like the voice. Thought it was a little bit much. Got this record, completely changed my mind. This is a phenomenal record. And you know what? You can buy this record for under 10, almost everywhere. I think it's his best in that Axelrod period, which is basically about 62 until about 70. Then he joined the MGM label. Very different sound after that. Then afterwards, he goes to Philadelphia International, works with Gamble and Huff. A lot of disco hits and sort of pop hits in the 70s, but this one from, I believe it's from 66. Soulin'. Easily my favorite, and wow, play a lot of this one. Just if ever I'm in a mood that's, maybe not as dangerous as it needs to be. Nothing like Lou to awaken the panther, I guess you could say. So let's move on. Number two, what was the last record of the year that I purchased? Well, I didn't know that this would be a question on my friend Rob Walker's list of the year, but I do remember purchasing this. This was probably on New Year's Eve, to which I had a very kind of mild-mannered, have dinner early, go to bed. Actually, you know what? I made it up to midnight. I was up. The Danger was up until midnight on New Year's. But before that, I went over to my friends at Part-Time Lover. Little sort of a division, I would call the sexy club version of Folk Arts Rare Records. Of course, my number one record store of the year. Maybe I'll even point a little link in the old thing. You'll need today. If ever you come to San Diego, do not forget to consult my top 5 record stores in San Diego of the year. You know what? I don't think they're going to change that much. Let's talk about this record, The Gospel Truth, the complete singles collection. This, I think, was a record store day release from a couple of years back. This is basically a 3 LP set I got for about 25-ish. Really nice packaging. It's got the 3 LPs. It's got all this story. This is some funky gospel work. This was around the time with the Stax label when they started to make quite a bit of money, certainly past 70. Until about 73, they were actually doing very well. Then they got choked off by distributors. The Gospel Truth was kind of an offshoot label whereby basically they planned to release only gospel. Well, didn't last too long because, of course, Stax would be in full bankruptcy by 1975. Really, really good stuff. If you see this one, like I say, for $25, you're talking about like 3 full LPs of really funky, excellent gospel. Yeah, it's really hard to feel. Like I say, the packaging on this is it's just beautiful. So The Gospel Truth, the complete singles collection. Bought this, I think, probably around maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock on New Year's Eve, 2023. So that's my last record of 2023. Let's talk about a band or a singer that has released more than 2 albums in a single year. Obviously, I have a lot of bands like that, certainly between about 67 and I would even go up to 73, 74. A lot of bands were releasing 2 records per year. Obviously, I have many of those, and certainly in the soul arena, depending on the quality of the albums, certainly there were a lot of bands who did just that, many of which I will later mention in this video, but I'll go to 71. 71 with, okay, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Craig, this looks like it could be a little bit of a graphic design disaster area. And you know what? You wouldn't be completely wrong. But this is If I Were Your Woman from 1971. Woo! That is a good record. The title track is, it's basically, in my opinion, one of her best, if not her best song. That's right. That's right, Midnight Train to Georgia, people. Come on now. Come on. If I Were Your Woman. That's the king. So this is a very good album. I wouldn't call it her best album, certainly, in that period. But you know what I would? I would call this one from 71. How about Standing Ovation? Gladys Knight and the Pips. Great cover. Obviously, Gladys looking fantastic. The Pips, all cool. This record, I just listened to this the other day. Just chock full. Cover to cover, I think this is her most classic record. Certainly her best record on Motown, without a doubt. Of course, we can throw it out a couple of hits. Make Me the Woman You Come Home To. Come on. Can you give me a love with a guarantee? I think you might be able to. We got to cover The Long and Winding Road. Oh, Help Me Make It Through the Night. Woo! It's a sexy record, friends. Sexy record. Standing Ovation, 71. Gladys Knight and the Pips. By the way, look forward ahead to a ranking of the, I think 68 to 75. I'm doing a ranking of the Gladys Knight and the Pips material. So, if that's something you're interested in, you can check it out. If not, you're just going to miss out on one of the best soul and R&B artists, really, of the 60s and 70s. So do that at your own peril, people. At your own peril. Let's talk about a record from Manchester. Now, I got to be real. I didn't really have very many of these. If this was the 90s and I had a stack of CDs still, then it would just, I'd be like here. To be fair, the 90s were very much, certainly I could have gone with other bands sort of in the realm, but the 90s was when I think Manchester really kind of came into full view for me. So what am I going to do? How about The High, Somewhere Soon, from 1990. These guys sort of were coming off of the wave of when the Stone Roses first got big. And, I think a lot of critics kind of saw them as a very kind of like a copy band, much as the Charlatans UK kind of did get initially a little bit of it's another Stone Roses. But anyway, was just listening to this beauty, and it's actually not bad. It's very much of the era, but it doesn't, unlike the aforementioned, of course, Charlatans UK and the Stone Roses, there just isn't the beats, the dance sort of baggy vibes coming off of this record, which in a way actually ensures that it's not as dated sounding, I would say. It's a little bit thin. I mean, the production could be thicker. That really goes without saying. But again, Somewhere Soon by The High. I actually had picked this one up probably some years ago, and I noticed I had picked it up from Amoeba Records. So my guess would be that I picked it up in San Francisco, which, there was definitely a time period that I had spent a lot of time in San Francisco, and probably picked this up at the Amoeba for $4.99. So anyway, The High, Somewhere Soon. Fun little record. Again, not my favorite business, but it is from Manchester. Unfortunately, they kind of really went nowhere. I think their first album may have charted, and then after that, it was like, no. And this was the album. Even if it charted, that's another story. I'm not sure if it did. They had a couple of singles, and we'll leave it at that. If you were to pick a decade, I'm not even going to really talk about this for long. If you've seen this channel at any point, it's simply got to be the 70s. 60s would qualify. Don't get me wrong. The 60s is a very broad decade. Really great stuff. I feel like what robs the 60s is simply the fact that albums weren't really a format that were, given much respect until probably about 65, 66. Once the Beatles started releasing albums, record companies decided, whoa, people buy albums? Long playing stuff? Cool, let's do it. And like I say, even some of the soul contingent, Motown started getting into the album game. Great times, but again, the early 60s, fine. But in my opinion, you just basically can't beat the 70s. The 70s, you have really the peak of soul and R&B music, in my opinion. Just some fantastic stuff. Immense production levels. Just phenomenally funky. Soul music is really kind of being defined and sort of being overwrought in places and exploration in all angles. Fantastic. Funk, basically developed and created in the 70s. Disco, okay. All right, okay. Disco's fun. I mean, people weren't having as much fun until disco came, and then they were like, and then you know what did they do? They beat it to death, which, that stuff happens. It just is what it is. You got punk rock. 76, 77 brought really, at least according to a great channel. I'll probably link to it. It's not Vinyl Community, but there's a little channel called the Reggae Appreciation Society, which is, beautiful stuff. Great channel. 76, 77 brought about, I think, really probably some of the best reggae albums ever in the history of reggae. So there's just so many stylistic formats. And then again, up until 70 to 75, you have this lush level of production. It's incredible. Before, of course, what happens is, of course, you get the machines. All of a sudden, you got 32-track recorders. Things start to get weird. Punk tries to kind of stop that. And it's easily the 70s for me. I said I wasn't going to say much about it. Turns out I had more to say than I thought. But you know what? The 1970s, chef's kiss to a super decade. I just don't think that there'll ever be anything like that again. The 80s, again, partially a lot of me was in the 80s. And I will say I just think the production and the drums and the electronic equipment of the 80s absolutely just blow an absolute sinkhole through the whole decade. And it's just at the bottom of the ocean, bro. I cannot do the 80s. And, that's been the case for me really since the 90s. I was just like, get this music away from me. So there we go. That's my full decade response. Which band or artist did you listen to the most? Well, if you're watching this channel, guaranteed you know that that could only be one man. I'm talking about Willie Hutch. William McKinley Hutchinson. Of course, this is Fully Exposed from 73. Mark of the Beast, 74. Woo! Banger of an album. And then the one that kind of brought it all out, The Soul Portrait from 69. Ooh, another great one. I'm not going to say about Willie Hutch, except that I've done a couple of videos on him. I did a ranking the albums of Willie Hutch, which again, folks, please take a look. Do not deny the Hutch from your life. It will change you in a most funky way. Also, I did a 18 super bangers created by Willie Hutch. Again, one of the most underrated soul stars of the 1970s. I know that I've listened to these albums weigh a ton, but even I'm on YouTube Music. I got the premium, so I don't have to watch the advertisements, blah, blah, blah. And I do know that on my top 10 list of the year, I think it was 6 out of 10 of my favorite songs that I listened to a billion times were, yeah, they were by Willie Hutch. I don't know what to say. It is what it is. Let's continue with, and of course the next question, show 7-inch records. And you know what? I can't do that. I just can't. You know what? I'm starting to delve. I'm starting to notice that there are some real classics available in the 7-inch sort of format. I find that the condition of these records is often just absolute burning trash. So that's why it's a tougher realm for me to get into. Plus, I'll admit to a certain degree of laziness. And that just breaks down to I just don't love to turn the record every 3 minutes. So, a little appearance. I believe this was in my appearance from last year. I doubled my 7-inch collection in 2023. This, of course, was an appearance from last year. It's Really Love was the B-side I was looking for. Delaney, from Delaney Bramlett, of course, and Blue Diamond. The actual single on this one was Nothing Without You. Yes, Nothing Without You was a single. It wasn't very good, but It's Really Love. Very good. Very, very shades of, definite shades of some classics by the Flying Burrito Brothers on this one. It's a really good one. But you know what? I had a Discog thing. That's right. What? And of course, we doubled the 7-inch collection last year with this on the Alston label. Of course, Betty Wright. How about Where Is the Love? I believe that was her biggest hit. I picked this one up. I don't even think that I've played this yet, but it is in remarkably good condition and a bit of a banger. Anything Betty Wright, my sister from another mister, is playing, ooh, I know it's going to be good. So that's my 2 of 7 inches, 100% of my 7-inch single collection. So what can I say? Next year could be at 4. From that, I mean, again, it's going to take about 35 years before I have anything resembling a collection. But hey, baby steps, people. Baby steps. That's one thing I learned in 2023. Don't get crazy, because you'll end up with piles and piles of records like everywhere that you sit and are. It's the thing. Right. Okay, so the next question, who's coming to your party? Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and throw these guys out. These are artists that typically very much, of course, affected me this year quite a bit. First off, I'd start with my man Barry White. Woo! Love Unlimited Orchestra. Don't slip on these LPs. Let me tell you, very nice, sort of symphonic soul, very progressive. Very, very good, very funky stuff. If you're a fan of hip hop too, wow, you're gonna be playing a little game of don't be trampled by the sample, because there's a lot of those. Let's be honest. Barry White doing some fantastic work. Barry White is at my party. Only thing I got a problem with Barry White, apparently discovered it through his Wikipedia page. He used to smoke 150 cigs a day. So, yeah, it is probably going to be a 70s party, so I'm just going to have to deal and probably smoke tobacco with him. So Barry White, first guy, of course, got to be Willie. And it's probably really because of this cover. 1977's Having a House Party. Willie Hutch right on the, sort of mingling on the front. And of course, Willie on the back, jamming over here. Yeah, Willie absolutely is a guy who I would love to party with. Seems like, there needs to be more information on Willie Hutch out there. There just is not very much, but it seems like from what anyone who you talk to, or anyone who talks about Willie Hutch, which again is not a lot. I mean, scouring the YouTube, there's not a lot of mentions on the Willie Hutch. They always are like, man, this guy was a dude. He was the dude. So Willie Hutch at my party. Obviously, Betty Wright, she's got to be at my party. I mean, ooh, woman's looking great. But again, part of that Florida soul contingent, which is just very fascinating to me. This is a realm that I'm starting to dive into. And ooh, it hurts so good. There's so much fantastic stuff in there. Betty Wright, kind of the big leader on the Alston/TK label situation. So, got to have Betty. Betty just passed, actually, not too long ago. I think it was maybe 2020 or something like that. So, R.I.P. Betty. But, hey, you coming to my party, girl. You're coming to my party. And then, got to have the little beaver. Like I've said many a time, are you really living unless you've had a little beaver? I don't think so. This is Black Rhapsody. Just picked this one up. I was up north in Canada. and picked up this classic, Black Rhapsody. Wasn't as good of an album as his, really my favorite by him. Again, Party Down, which unfortunately I would have presented, but it's in amongst the piles and piles of records that I own. So we'll just talk about Black Rhapsody. And again, this is a man responsible for a lot of the riffs on some of those TK and Alston label records. And wow, they are funky. I consider him to be probably one of the funkiest guitarists available. Man can rip a riff. And woo, you know it would be a funky party if we got the Little Beaver involved. That's a guarantee. So yeah, those are my people at my party. Let's move on to someone who passed away in 2024. Now this was a very strange night because I was like, okay, I was bored. It was some evening. It was probably on the weekend or something like that. And I kind of tuned in. I was looking for a stream to watch or whatever. A lot of great vinyl community streams, of course, as we know. And I happened to tune into a gentleman called the Vinyl Archivist, which now many of us may know him as PB Thal. I'm not going to announce him as Rachel from Rachel's Ghost does, but PB Thal is his name. And anyway, I happened to tune into, he was just playing a record, and it happened to be Beck Bogert in a piece live. You know what? Discovered very much that night that while I was listening to the record, I'm like, oh, that is a cooking record. Whoever is doing this ripping, which I discovered obviously was Jeff Beck. Oh, Jeff Beck is just ripping all over this record. It's a great, fun record, live record. I love live records. I found out later that night that, turned out that Jeff Beck had died. And that's why PB Thal, aka the Vinyl Archivist, was playing this. And you know what? So I went to Discogs right away and bought it. Such a great banging record. And I just listened to this the other day. Ooh, remains a cooker. This is Jeff Beck, I think, at his best. In terms of the rock idiom, I am still very green when it comes to Jeff Beck, and of course, I'm sure I will inevitably get there. But as for right now, this is a good one to pick up. Beck Bogert in a piece, obviously a little bit of a super group from, this is probably over about 73. This only lasted a couple of years, and Jeff Beck would move on to different realms. Imagine you could only listen to music from one country. Which country would it be? It's obvious. I am by no means the most American of Americans, being a Canadian American, of course. But I would say it's got to be the United States. There's just really no other. There's no other way to go about it. If you like soul music, if you like jazz, if you like funk, if you like anything black music, almost related, there's not a lot of other countries where you're seeing any of that action coming out of. And while the UK has certainly some fantastic stuff, I would look to Jamaica for other really fantastic stuff as well. I just don't think that you can't really touch the United States. In terms of soul and R&B, and then of course rock and roll, across the board, it is really hard to say, well, I would be UK only. No, how could you do that? How could you do that? So my answer for that is going to be the United States. We'll move on to the next question, which of course is, anyway, if you lived through that era, you know what I'm talking about. So, I gotta go with this one. I big up this record millions of times on the channel. This is basically like an absolute overdose of happy gas. This is Erasure's The Innocents, probably from about 87. Woo! This is still a banging, absolutely gay happy and gay explosion of amazingness, in my opinion. I still love this record. Every time I get the chance to put this record on, I'm like, okay, sure. Great mood lifter, too, this one. Ooh. Erasure, a little Vince Clarke, Andy Bell, a couple of classics. Classic gentlemen Erasure. This, I think, is still kind of their entry point. But a great record, great sort of 80s synth pop with a very, very sort of dance-friendly vibe to it. Erasure, The Innocents. A record I bought in the teens, except it was a cassette, and then I bought the LP later. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about 3 channels that I discovered this year. Of course, As It Should Be Studios, fantastic, great record ranking work. If you like things ranked, singles of the year, albums of the year, just legendary work done by, of course, Paul Berlino, Tommy Von Voigt, Crystal Durant. Whoa, just amazing entertainment. These guys are funny. They're riffing. A lot of great. You can tell they're really good friends. There's a lot of really good sort of interplay. They talk about music. and they've done it for year upon year upon year. You can go to their channel, you can subscribe, and absolutely you can be entertained for the next 2 weeks. They've done all this great, fantastic work. So them, obviously in the top 7. Number 2, I'd say Marsha P. Marsha P. Early in the year, I was like, oh my God. Great to see Marsha P.'s videos. Very much enjoyed her. She's got a great sort of vibe. She would have been on my top 7 of the year. I got to be real. But yeah, she doesn't make a lot of videos. You know, maybe once every month-ish. And you know what? If you want to make the danger list, you got to do the work. But anyway, I'm sure that she probably will. Again, she's always a joy to watch. And in fact, she kind of inspired me to get going on this vinyl tag thing before it gets a little too moldy. And people are like, yeah, I don't want to look at any more of those. And then number 3, Craig. The second most legendary Craig, obviously, in the vinyl community. After the dangerous one, has to be Craig from Craig's Vinyl Plethora. Always fun. Obviously, he's a member of the vinyl community Gunkles, which is a fantastic show. If you get a chance to watch that, you should. But Craig just comes on, and he's a man who buys a lot of records and a lot of genres, and he talks really well about the records, and it's always a joy to watch. So there. So I'm Craig Danger, bigs up Craig in the vinyl community. The next one, soul or a funk record. That's all I show. That's all I show. But I figured one that kind of surprised me recently, I just got it as kind of an add-on, like the shipping's cheap, so I'm just going to add on to my Discogs order, was Rose Royce. Actually, Rose Royce 2 in full bloom. A little disco funk type of record. And on the Whitfield label. Obviously, Norman Whitfield, legendary producer, soul and funk producer. It's a great record. I have a third record by them. They're obviously most famous for the Car Wash soundtrack from sort of probably around 76. But, woo, Rose Royce, these records are available all day at a clip for under $5. And, woo, that's not wrong. That's not correct. These records are worth way more than $5 just on listening pleasure alone. And again, yeah, Rose Royce in full bloom. Just getting into them, but I'm already incredibly impressed. All right, let's show a record that everybody has and a record that probably very few people have. I have found this one. I'm like, who doesn't have Fleetwood Mac's Fleetwood Mac? I mean, if you're a younger collector coming in to the realm, you're like, well, I would have bought it, but it was $29. It's like, yeah, don't pay that. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are like, oh, well, this record that sold millions upon millions upon millions of records, I guess we should probably charge $28 a copy. No. This should be an under $10 record. It has, again, it sold a lot of copies. They're out there, so keep looking. But again, everyone who doesn't have this, if you have a Fleetwood Mac record, you either have this or, of course, you have Rumors. And I chose this one. Record that most people don't have, I would imagine. Just picked this one up in Winnipeg. How about the real me, Donnie Elbert? Woo! Donnie's good. Donnie's really good. I actually found out about Donnie from The Vinyl Monkey, who does some great stuff. He just kind of pointed him out one day, and I was like, wow, I've never heard of Donnie Elbert. And maybe it's because he's on the Allah Records label. Allah? What? A-L-A? Anyway, didn't have really any decisively large hits, but great singer, sort of on a falsetto level. Also does some kind of instrumental cuts on here that are very good, little guitar-oriented. Donnie Elbert, a real surprise for me. And I don't know who has The Real Me by Donnie Elbert, but can't be a lot of people, despite the miraculously beautiful, colorful art. Well, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. And the next one, She's Great, of course, a record by a lady that you have enjoyed this year. And let me tell you, Craig Danger was all over the ladies this year in 2023. I don't want to say it was depraved, but it was definitely an exploration for the ages. So I'm just going to throw out a few. I mean, the fact is, again, my collection, way more ladies at the end of 2023 than at the beginning. So obviously, we'll talk about the classics. Just pick this one up. And People Straight from the Heart, I think this is probably her best album, next to maybe I Can't Stand the Rain. But all bangers on this one, and this is a sort of a later repress. Hard to get anything from Anne on the cheap. I ended up paying kind of full up for this, about 30-ish bucks, but well worth it. Can't say enough about the FLAC. This year, it was a pure, unadulterated flak attack on the danger, and I yield. I surrender, Roberta. Roberta! I surrender to you. This is a really phenomenal record that I've been getting. First Take, of course, from '69, classic record. But this one I've been getting into recently. Specifically, I would note the song Do What You Gotta Do. Oh, wow. Just sad, just emotional, just pulls my heart out, lights it on fire, then spits on it. I'm like, oh! But good, but in a good way, of course, in a good way. So yeah, Roberta, this is chapter 2. And then Margie, perennial favorite of mine. I haven't listened to this one too much, but certainly her earlier work on Stax and her early work on Atlantic is all fantastic stuff. This is from about 75, also on the Atlantic label. Obviously, she's looking lovely on the cover. Margie Joseph. And then the ladies upon the ladies. Oh, my favorite. Even got the t-shirt. Made the t-shirt. I made the t-shirt. Actually out of this, believe it or not. Sweet Replies. This is, I think, their best album. Really, they have only 2.5 albums worth of material. But Edna Wright here, of course, sister of Darlene Love. Very, very fantastic stuff. And it's Kathleen Willis. Oh, I don't know the middle girl. I don't know you. I will. I may even put that in the old video. So anyway, those are some ladies of the year. And of course, favorite videos of the year. I don't even really know. I'm not even really sure that I could. Like I say, I will put a link in the comment to my favorite channels. But in terms of favorite videos of the year, I don't know that I have. I find these all to be very entertaining. Like I say, all of my top 7, guys and ladies, I enjoy those videos, and I can't think of a specific one. In terms of what I've done, I think this year I did a lot of stuff. I particularly enjoyed, I think, last year's Vinyl Tag, believe it or not. I also enjoyed I did the youngest members of the VC, despite not being even close to one of the youngest members of the VC. I really love that one. And I would say probably my, top 7 channels of 2023. That a lot of people were excited about that video. I loved it. And also, so I'll maybe put a little link in the comments, but that was kind of my favorite to do, because I'm going to do that every single year, because that's the way I like to do things around here. All right, show me a record that you describe as a 90s classic. Now, I was full blown in the 90s. It's important to understand this. I was definitely deep into 90s music in the 90s. You know what? It's funny, because as I've grown older, I definitely want to listen to less and less of that music for some reason. Although it could have been worse, I typically turned to Britain in the 90s, which I felt kind of made the best of what was going on at the time. I was not a big grunge person. There was good grunge that I later found out about, but I was just really the anti-radio at that point. So, but I will, let me throw this out. I did have this on compact disc. I do have it obviously burned somewhere, but I wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to 6x7, The Things We Make from 1997, which for me was just an absolute strange, hard, emotional rockin' record. Just really, really good. And 6x7 continued to be a really good band for 3, 4, 5 albums from there. I think they may even release something in the 2010s. But 6x7 from Nottingham, easily, I would still listen to that record anytime. In fact, if I saw it, I'm not going to see a vinyl copy right in the guts of the compact disc generation. There's no way I'm going to be able to pick up a copy of that, at least in North America. But The Things We Make by 6x7 is a record that, it's available on the streaming. Check it out. It's really kind of emotional, harder rock, a little punky, but very, very melodic, very strong. 6x7, great one. But as far as a record that I've got that I would consider a 90s classics, got to be Digital Underground and Sex Packet. I think probably one of the best hip-hop records of the 90s. Some amazing samples on this. Obviously, Tupac Shakur, a very young Tupac Shakur on this, doing a couple of bits on here. So yeah, Digital Underground. This is my 90s record. Sex Packets. Ooh, really good one. Not just the hits, not just Humpty Dance and Do What You Like, Friends. Whole lot of funky, funky music on this record. And this one I also picked up this year. All right, and if I could walk into a cover from any of my collection. I'm just going to go back to the old standard. Like I wouldn't want to be at this house party. Willie Hutch is having a house party. I'm there. So, you know what? I'm just going to leave it there. It's a funky bunch of people. I would certainly dress to the times. I would dress 1977 cool ass dude appropriate. But definitely would want to come to Willie Hutch's house party. The man. And we're starting to finally round this pig of a vinyl tag off. Oh my God, I'm about to die. My voice is finished. Okay, I've got a record that is, you're so familiar with it becomes a greatest hits. In fact, it almost is the greatest hits here. This would be Gwen George and Gwen McCrae together. Woo! I still have noted and still believe that this is the sexiest LP ever recorded and released by a couple. And wow, bangers from cover to cover, all written by Clarence Reed, noted Florida songwriter, singer in terms of using a name called Blowfish. He did a sort of almost parody stuff. But you know what? This album is banging from second one to the absolute end. And obviously introduced me to Gwen. Huge fan of Gwen now. George, less of a fan of George, but Gwen. And this album I would recommend to everybody. This is just such a great, outstanding soul record and sexy MF of a record if I have ever heard one. And of course we'll close this one out. Oh my God. Woo! Fatigued is the danger. Deeply fatigued. Record released in 1974 could only be Marvin Gaye Live. This is a double LP, really a classic, and actually one of the sides is Got to Give It Up Part 1 and 2, I believe. The entire jam, just basically all on one side. As I believe it was released as a single, but this is a really fun live LP. Marvin kind of at his best, at his peak period, giving away nothing but the most soulful of vibes. Marvin Gaye Live from 1974. So yeah, wow, it's been a bear, an absolute bear of a video to do this year. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. If you're still around, like and subscribe. Thanks again for tuning in, and you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to see you on the next one.